some would suggest that there's a disinformation campaign happening at all sorts of levels. On the one hand, you've got the US leaking intelligence information for the first time to the media, saying that, look, Russia is going to be attacking on Wednesday. That makes an attack like that on that particular date to be quite improbable. On the other hand, you've got Russia saying in tweets from their foreign ministry that nothing of the sort is actually going to happen, and yet they've got their soldiers deployed in these huge numbers, Air Force, Army, Navy. Why does the US at this juncture continue to believe that an attack can actually happen in weeks? Because the Ukrainians don't seem to believe that at all.
So let's step back and look at my personal analysis. Ukraine went through two revolutions in 2005 and 2014, both times rejecting Russia's supremacy and seeking a path to join European Union and NATO alliances. Putin is particularly enraged by the prospect of NATO bases next to his border and says that Ukraine joining the US-led transatlantic alliances would mark the crossing of a red line. Putin is seeking security guarantees from the United States and NATO, that including blocking Ukraine's entry into NATO and refraining, and which is not going to happen because Ukraine is a free country and it's welcome to join NATO alliance as it needs to support its own security. And as for the information sharing, the administration has shared that in the media clearly that they will clearly be sharing the available information to make sure that Putin's aggressive plans are shared and made public as needed.
Okay.
And so there is a clear all efforts for diplomacies are out there, but at the same time, as the ambassador said, that we are prepared for the worst.
Okay, Ambassador Vishnu Prakash, India, would you agree that India is playing a tight diplomatic balancing act? On the one hand, we maintain extremely close relations with the Ukraine, but obviously Russia is one of our closest allies. Therefore, what exactly is New Delhi's position? And let's never forget that we are also extremely close to the United States.
Well, good evening, Vishnu, and nice to be on the program with you. For India, it's a diplomatic challenge. This is not a situation that we would have wanted, especially with China breathing down our neck. And the quasi-Russo-Chinese alliance is something which is not very good news either for India or for many other countries. Now, we have historically had a very good relationship with Russia. Our relationship, as you said, with the USA has been transformed. And it is in our strategic interest to maintain both these relations, but that is becoming a challenge. And the way Sino-Russian partnership is developing, Russia may be called upon to choose, and that poses a difficulty. If that happens, India's dependence on US becomes much more and reduces India's elbow space. Mm-hmm. So we have challenges. It is not something that we want. The situation is can be handled. I'm not saying that a conflict will happen or not happen. It's not possible to predict that. But the way to handle it is good old diplomacy, quiet negotiations, no threats, but to some kind of a strategic accommodation. And for that, you need to talk. For that, you need dialogue. But somehow there is a drumbeat that is going on, and Russia, as I see it, I've been posted to Russia, Soviet Union, I've been following it. They are unhappy at Ukraine going out of their ambit, but they no longer want, as far as I can make out, to absorb or conquer Ukraine. All they want is that their security interests should be respected, which is, I think, a legitimate interest.
Okay. Dr. Brahma Chelani, at one level, do you believe that Vladimir Putin finds himself in a bit of a hole at this juncture? He's forward deployed his soldiers, perhaps expecting the West to respond with a clear guarantee that Ukraine will never be admitted into NATO. That's not forthcoming. The rhetoric from America continues. And so he has to sort of play to his domestic constituency as well. There's also this thought that he wants to carve out a role for himself in history. And therefore, what can he at this juncture actually do? Do you actually see him withdrawing all his forces That's unlikely. On the other hand, attacking all of Ukraine would be devastating. It would be devastating to the Russian economy, manpower. It would be devastating to all of Europe. The choices are difficult for him.
Well, they are, definitely, but let me state one fact. The biggest military buildup today in the world by one country against another is not the Russian military buildup against Ukraine. It's China's military buildup against India. That there are no drumbeats of war from India.
Right.
India is handling China's threat to unleash war in a cool manner. But look at this. Look at the drumbeats of war from Washington about a country that the Biden administration has said very clearly that they will not directly come to Ukraine's defense.
Right.
And yet, today, the main tensions are between Washington and Moscow.